Yeah, of course, I'm going to give you a hot take in week 2. Why wouldn't I? It's time for a change in Morgantown. Can we please change quarterbacks? Let's just do.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host, and this is Locked On West Virginia, baby, where we're talking about the Mountaineers on the football side again today, of course, Junior. And look, I know it's going to be a hot take, and if I had a cool graphic I could slam up there really quick, I would. Hot take. We're going to talk about quarterbacks. Definitely not doing it alone. But before we get there, guys, this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at, you know it, Game Time. Right now with Game Time, you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your very first purchase. Make sure you do it now. Do it yesterday, as a matter of fact. Get there and do it. And look, like I said, not doing this thing alone. We've got somebody on I respect in this business quite a bit. He's a radio guy. He's got a radio voice. I think he's a guy that's super talented. And he's got a team that's really good at football right now, which is something that I'm also longing after. My friend JT Wistersill from Locked On Utah Utes. Appreciate you for being on here, my dude.
Appreciate you having me on, Paul, and I'm going to do my best to help brighten West Virginia's fans' day any way I can, because I know it was a rough one yesterday, guys.
Yeah. So we talked yesterday or day before yesterday, before this game. We thought it was going to be a bunch of different topics, game day, McAfee, that kind of thing. Not happening now. We've been told via not only Kirk Herbstreit, but Tony Caridi, West Virginia not getting game day, unfortunately, right? So is it time to move on, I guess, now that things have gone the way they've gone? You know, you struggle in week 1 versus Ohio. Nicco Marchiol has a 93.5 pro football focus grade, but it was like hitch route, bomb. And that was it, right? It wasn't really much to it. So, and it was against an inferior opponent. And you move on to week 2 now against Ohio University at Ohio. Sure, it's a tough game against a good MAC team that's been good for years. But in Rich Rod's offense, where it's up-tempo, it's spread, if your offensive line isn't going to be able to block for you, and we looked at the Pro Football Focus scores, 3 of our 5 offensive linemen scored in the 50s. That's not good. You got to have a mobile guy. I submit to you Jalen Henderson or Scotty Fox as the answer to that. But what is your opinion on changing quarterbacks early in a season, like in week 2? It sounds a little bit like a panic button move, right?
Oh, it's absolutely a panic move, but when you lose to a MAC team, albeit a good MAC team, as we said, it's going to cause a lot of panic. So I understand the frustration. It's interesting though, too, because this isn't just any like week 3 game you have coming up. Obviously it's the rivalry game. I mean, this is a massive game. So do you want to also then make that change leading into the backyard brawl? I don't know if you do. I don't think you want to personally. I think it's too early for a quarterback change, but it was rough yesterday, right? 2 for 13 on third down for West Virginia, right? You get outgained 429 to 250 by once again, just still a MAC team. Even if we like this MAC team, it's still West Virginia. This is a team that, our colleague Drake told, right? He had you guys winning 8+ games with a Big 12 slate of games in a conference schedule. Like you should be able to still overcome that on the road. I do also want to say, with the amount of transfers you brought in, I think as this team grows and gets together, I think you guys will be a better team as the year goes on. And I think like if your last game of the season was against Ohio again, I think it's probably a West Virginia win, but it's also tough to win on the road in college football. We see that time and time again all over the country. So going back to the quarterback topic you posed up, Paul, to me, it is just too early. Nico's played a lot of football here. It's tough playing Pitt, but I know we are enamored, as you were kind of talking about too, what Scotty Fox Jr. could be. I just don't love throwing true freshmen in. Sometimes you throw them in and the legend is born. Ball's out in the rivalry game and everything is awesome. But
Pat White.
Exactly. But they can get overwhelmed quickly. Utah last year,
probably not Pitt week, a good week to do it. Yeah,
that's the thing for me. So it's too early for a true freshman to do it. And I know as well, we like what a Jalen Henderson can bring, but it's also, he hasn't played a lot of football either. Like he's played only a couple games. So this being the game that it is, the magnitude, I would stick with Nicco. I understand the frustrations though, if you guys do decide to make the move.
Yeah, I think it's not that here's the thing. I trust Nicco. It's just that if you can't run the ball and you have a quarterback that can run, but doesn't instill fear into the opponent with the way he runs. Like Nicco needs a lane and he can get you 15 or 20 yards, right? But if everything's breaking down, it's a tough thing for him. So what do you do in that scenario, in your opinion, when you have an immobile quarterback, or at least a limited mobility quarterback that is playing behind an offensive line that can't run it, and people set up against you in the pass, and you're literally you're in a bad spot? I mean, I feel like we're forced in this scenario to put in a mobile guy. You get what I'm saying?
I do. I think the problem then too is, like you said, if you can't run, teams are still, they're going to spy that quarterback. They're going to do a lot of things to try and limit that quarterback mobility as well. I know you kind of talked about things they've already tried to do to help Nicco get the ball out of his hands quickly. I think that's still the biggest thing you look to, are those quick swing passes, screens, doing the things of that nature. But it is tough because, especially as you mentioned, Paul, if they're used to beating your offensive line, if it's too easy for them, then they're probably going to, then maybe they'll expect a screen. So this is really tough. I think it would probably help a little bit to have a mobile quarterback who can get away from some of that pressure. But at the same time, I don't know if the quarterback run game is going to be there in a design standpoint, because like you said, just a struggle to run, block, and run the ball. So that's where I still might want to stick with the guy who is the most accurate, which it feels like that is why Nicco won this job. And I'll also just add the most accurate in game. The one other thing I want to add about this, like, as much as we love what a Scotty Fox Jr. can bring to your team, Paul, the quarterback position, unlike any in any sport, the practice reps they get and then the live game reps could not be more different, because in practice they don't get hit. I can't think of another sport like that where it's so different when you get thrust into live action, because you can get hit, you can get beat up. Guys can look great in shorts and in their red jersey. When they can't get hit, they get punched in the mouth one time and they're not the same and rattled the rest of the game. So that would just scare me if you are throwing a freshman out there the first time.
Yeah. It's tough because some dudes, and it's funny because we've had two different schools of thought on this. Rich Rodriguez actually believes in the term gamer. Neil Brown did not. He was actually vehemently against it. Said there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a guy that just gets good when he gets into the game. There's usually a set of circumstances or practice footage or, practice reps that are looking good. And then, yes, he plays good in the game. Practice good, play good. But I submit Tim Tebow, a guy like Tim Tebow who looks terrible in practice. You put him in the game and he just, for whatever reason, would win, right? And you
unless
look
he's at
like
tight end, then he's probably not going to win either. If he's at a tight end, he probably won't look very good then.
What were the Jets doing?
The Jaguars, but it was a disaster. I mean,
was it the Jaguars? Why did I think it was the Jets?
Urban Meyer. I mean, different shades of green. Like Urban Meyer, it was a disaster. That just was the Tebow thing. But I do love that point. Continue. I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, so this is a big week for a lot of reasons, JT. And to your points, maybe Nicco handles it better. He's already won a game in the backyard brawl. So he's started in this rivalry before. That's a huge thing in his favor. Think about all this, and I don't know if I think I've explained it to you in text a couple of different times, but this is a game that is 18 years in the making, right? This is the same team that we hate and have played over 100 times. The Holy War, similar thing. I think these rivalries are very similar. Imagine if 18 years ago, Kyle Whittingham played against BYU and BYU beat you in the last game of the year to knock you out of the national championship game. And then Kyle Whittingham went on to, I don't know, another P4 school. Yeah. And then 18 years later, which he would be like 100 at this point with his age, the way it is, but let's just pretend like he wasn't 100 back then. He would return. And then your first Power 4 game is against that team, right? There's a lot riding on that. And then consider that the biggest voice in media is at the college game day desk, pounding the desk for you, saying, yeah. And then, thought you were going to get game day and you didn't, to kind of tie this whole thing together. I want to ask you this. I made this case earlier on my show today. Do you think it could benefit West Virginia that they're not getting game day? Because, I mean, obviously you can't replace that exposure, but a quiet, unassuming week in Morgantown with just putting your heads down. You're not getting pulled out for interviews. You're not getting pulled out for media. Could this be what they need to possibly just put their heads down and be totally overlooked for a week? Because ESPN just released a thing right before we hit live, not expecting West Virginia to win another game this year.
Oh wow, that is that's rough. I'm not the highest on West Virginia the rest of the year with what they showed, but I definitely think you guys are going to win another game at some point this season. I
Right.
think that's crazy talk. But back to what you said. No, Paul, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think it's the best for the town, the fans, the administration to have college game day there. But the best thing for this football team is clearly a week in the dark, out of the limelight, a opportunity to grind, get better. The worst thing you can have, Nick Saban loves to talk about the rat poison, right? Like the attention and some of these things you get. And unfortunately, just with the way West Virginia looked last week, they didn't deserve to have that light shined on them. If you lose a game like that and then get that light shined on you, that's almost rewarding a poor performance. And I don't think that's good. So that's where I look at this and I'm like, this is what's best for this team right now. They need to come together. They need to grind. They don't need the extra interviews right now. If they would have won this game, it could have been good for them. But you're not wrong, Paul, in terms of like, hey, maybe you squeak this one out in ugly fashion because you were still right there in it. And then you do get this spectacle, this scene. And then what if it turned into a blowout because this team was just barely able to beat a MAC team? Now they got to beat a Pitt team, right? That's a lot. So I do think what's best for this team is a week in the darkness. No one talking about them. Let's get that underdog mentality and everything going again. You were clearly not the underdog last week, even if it was tough to win even if Ohio was a tough MAC team, as we said, but now no one's talking about you. The entire world would have been talking about you. And I don't think this team is ready to handle that level of spotlight. So I think it's good that they're just going to get to grind this week.
Yeah. I mean, because if you think about it, JT, we'll go to break here. If you had West Virginia winning 7 games, 8 games, or 5 games this year, you had that Ohio game marked down as a win.
Absolutely.
It's now subtracted. It's now gone from that. So where are the wins going to come now? We'll go to break. On the other side, you mentioned blowouts. Well, the Utah might be the best team in the Big 12 and a playoff team. We're going to ask JT about his squad right after the break, and then we'll get into some more Big 12 stuff. Stick around. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to our friends over at Supply House, guys. We love talking about Supply House on this one, man, for multiple reasons. Because when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while the industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts for a project fast, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the Trade Master program today as it is free and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. All you have to do is visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SCHOLLEGE, SHCOLLEGE5 for 5% off your first order. You can only do it at supplyhouse.com where you can find real people and real service. And of course, our friends over at Game Time, guys, are also going to be joining in today on this episode. As college football is back, and I couldn't be more excited, even though yesterday was horrible. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real, man. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. You've got the endless queues, the hidden fees. You got prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, man. That's the only app that I know of that gives the advantage back to the fans. Thank you. I'll take another. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. And look, I pulled up the Game Time app in just a couple of taparoos. I saw amazing deals, and I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25, make you holla, dollars. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And remember that the terms do apply here. Again, create that account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE where you can swipe, tap, ticket, go download today. I said swipe, tap, ticket, go download today. And then ask yourself the question of all questions, what time is it? It's game time. It's segment 2. Let's crack open a do, JT, as we jump into the next segment with JT Wisterstill of Locked On Utes, our resident expert on the Utes. You guys absolutely destroyed Cal Poly yesterday.
Yeah.
It was bad.
As we took care of business against an FCS team.
You guys have had a pretty cream puff schedule to start, right? Is that a fair thing to say, though?
I think so. I think the only thing I'll say is I still believe it is not easy to win on the road against a P4 team. Granted, I don't think that P4 team Utah beat was very good in UCLA, but there's no question that UCLA is not very good. It was a bad loss against UNLV. I will go back to the whole home road thing. I think if that game's at UCLA, I do think they win it, but credit UNLV for being able to get that win. And yeah, Utah still clearly has some things to prove. I have no issue with Iowa State being ranked over Utah right now because Iowa State has what I think is a good win. I don't know what Kansas State's doing right now, but the Iowa win's a good win, at least right now. So we'll say that. So, but yeah, I feel good about where this Utah team's at. And they took care of business yesterday while still having things to work on and improve as they get to play Wyoming next week. They'll be on the road for that one, but I don't think Wyoming's that great either. So we won't really know about this team until we find out about another team we don't know about. Utah, Texas Tech in Salt Lake City, week 1 of Big 12 play. Can't wait
2 weeks from now, you guys are 67% on the ESPN thing that I looked at earlier. To win that game. So you guys are favored to beat Texas Tech in a couple weeks. Anything can happen between now and then, but that's going to be possibly a game day setup if it keeps going the way it is.
Can I say one thing about game day, Mountaineer Paul, real quick? You guys will get game day. I understand why there is so much frustration and disappointment for West Virginia fans not to have game day. But in the TV world, with the way these executives and everything thinks, they are trying to figure out how can we make game day a must tune into event each week. One of the ways in which this network will find a way to do that, if not this year, next year, is by returning Pat McAfee to Morgantown. It sucks to not get it this week. I get that. Trust me when I say ESPN wants to make that legendary atmosphere happen, and you guys will get it sooner rather than later.
Well, we appreciate that, man. I think I was probably one of the most disappointed out of all of us for sure. Yeah. But, I have my reasons, which I kept private, which you know about. But, I definitely wanted to go. I wanted to see that. But in hindsight, obviously, this team probably not ready. So looks like Utah is. What is it that's clicking for the Utes right now? I mean, obviously, you've got an elite offensive line going.
That's the biggest thing. It's arguably the best offensive line in college football. I think it is the best offensive line in the Big 12. You got the 2 tackles who are projected first-round picks coming into this year. The right tackle, Spencer Fano, one of the best offensive linemen in the country, genuinely. And Lum was really good, too, as I said, another first-round type guy. The interior has gotten better from last year as well. It was still a good unit last year, but they've made strides and they have improved. So that's one thing you're looking at for Utah. And the other is the quarterback. This was a Utah team that was in a bunch of one-score games last year. Going back to the first segment I mentioned, Utah started a true freshman at quarterback a lot of last year, didn't go so well. Instead, they have a guy who's getting in there now, who he is one of the only quarterbacks we've seen in the last few years to throw for 2,500 yards and rush for 1,000 yards last year. Did it against G5 competition, but for quarterbacks who have done that, like in general in a season last few years, you're talking Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Jaden Daniels, Devin Dampier's in that. He looks every bit the part. He's got to prove it still against some of the best teams, but he's been everything as promised. We're talking about a guy who was tied for first last season, the most forced missed tackles amongst collegiate quarterbacks, with John Mateer, who had a very good day yesterday as well. So Devin Dampier's dynamic dual threat abilities are incredible. Utah was 16 for 18 on third down against UCLA. He's reunited with his offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, from New Mexico a season ago. You got a couple wide receivers who are making some plays and some things happen, including some defensive players who have moved over the offensive side of the ball. There's a corner, Smith Snowden. He's going both ways. He's been really fun so far. Ability to make guys miss, impressive. Some defensive linemen have stepped up. A Utah defensive culture. Utah's defense was second in the Big 12 last year. Like, the issue was quarterback. So the biggest thing for this Utah team is they appear to have that quarterback, and they look like they are one of the top teams in the Big 12. They're currently ranked 20th in the AP poll, and I expect them to continue to keep on climbing. Loving what I'm seeing out of this Utah team so far, with still improvements needed before you're ready to start saying they'll be in Arlington. I think they have a good shot to get there.
Well, when you got 2 guys as good as Morgan Scalley and obviously Kyle Whittingham putting their heads together, your defense is going to be good every year. That's just the way it is. So if you had to power rank Utah, would you have them number 1 right now if you take the bias out of it?
Or if I took the bias out, if I didn't cover Utah every single day, I'd probably have Iowa State number 1, because I just watch this team constantly. I've watched them more than Iowa State. I know, I am locked on Utes guy. I feel like Utah's the best team in the Big 12 right now, but from a national media standpoint, especially now that we are really 2 weeks into the season, but 3 if we're including Iowa State. Iowa State still has 2 wins for me that I find more impressive than any win that Utah has. I'm barely giving Kansas State the nod over UCLA right now, even though they are doing everything they can to squander that. And we can talk a little more
Jeff
about the
Monken
Wildcats
strikes.
Yes, he does. He strikes again. But I think Iowa State's earned that, a gutsy win over in Ireland. And even though you were at home yesterday, that's a physical Iowa team. There's been years where that Iowa team is able to upset and knock people off. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen in rivalry games. That's why I think West Virginia has a great shot to beat Pitt still this weekend because of the chaos a rivalry can bring.
The records out the window.
Yeah, exactly. Throw the records out. The BYU, Utah, same thing. Utah dominated that rivalry from a wins perspective for a while. Like the last 15 years has been a lot of Utah, but all those games were close. So throw the records out the window. I think Iowa State deserves the spot right now for what Rocco Becht has done from a national media perspective. Like I said, I believe Utah is the best team, but I think with what Iowa State has done, Rocco Becht making the plays, that defense, I am totally good with the Cyclones being there. I would have Tech at number 3. And then after that, I just think those are the 3 contenders right now. Some people probably throw BYU up there. I'm not even trying to be a Cougars hater. I'm just saying if you have a true freshman at quarterback and not one that was projected to be your star there, I need to see more from him before I'm ready to say that BYU is up there. I still think Colorado, they're going to lose at Colorado. Even as good as that BYU defense looks, I think they're going to lose when they go out to the Buffs in a few weeks because of that true freshman there. And I like Bear. I think he can do some things. I just think this is a lot for him to be thrust in this position. And I know they technically beat a P4 team, but that's the worst P4 team in the country for my money right now. Stanford is a disaster. So I'm still waiting on BYU. I like those top 3 teams in the Big 12 currently. That's how I stack the contenders right now in this conference.
Oh, man. That was so funny yesterday. Martin Luther Staub reference from Dion. Did you see that?
I missed that. What did he say?
The quarterback, Ryan Staub yesterday came in and played really well for the Buffs late in the game. I think it went, excuse me, went 10 for 11. And at the end, Dion called him Martin Luther Staub. Just an odd reference to Martin Luther King.
That's a deep one.
To a freshman a white quarterback that's a freshman. It was so funny, man. Of course Dion can say that, right? I mean, if it had been anybody else, probably wouldn't have went over as well.
True. You're not wrong there.
We'll keep our eyes on the Utes, man. Obviously, you guys play late.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, we're going to see you soon. Yeah, hopefully we're a much better team by the time we play you guys, or it's going to get embarrassing for us. I mean, we saw a very mogul quarterback and Parker Nabar did to us yesterday. Can only imagine what your guy would do. So
he led college football in yards per carry last year, Devin Dampier at 7.5.
Yeah.
Just for reference. Right. Sorry,
pretty wild, man. No. I mean, I really think that's the kind of quarterback we need, and the kind of obviously what Rich Rod does. Devin Dampier would be exactly what Rich Rod would need, right? Yeah. So we do have a couple guys like that on the roster, which is why I was throwing them out, because my issue with, and we'll go to break here in a second, but my issue with Nicco is there's really no threat to pull it, and the entire deal with this offense is you're holding back a couple guys, even though they fit the backside differently than the front side on the read option. You still have that run threat there, but when you don't, they just crash down. And it's pretty sad when your quarterback, when they crash down, pulls it and still gets tackled 2 or 3 yards. That's the problem I'm having right now with Nicco. If he's got an open lane, he can get you 15 or 20 for sure. Yeah. I think he ran a 4.7 or something. Like, he's not slow, but he's just not quick. He's not explosive enough short range to be able to get to the second level quick enough. You get what I'm saying? That's Absolutely. The kind of mobility he has. Like, he has mobility if you get him out in space and he can get 5 or 10 yards of running, then he's pretty fast. But up until then, he's not. So we'll go to break again. Come back. I want to get JT's we're going to go around the horn in the Big 12 and kind of talk about these scores. And West Virginia is not the only team that's going through it right now, JT.
No.
So we'll be right back with that. And, of course, this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by GameCap. And I don't have a graphic for GameCap. But, look, guys, if we have a quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit in the front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? And, yes, I said hat. For me, it would be – I've said a few different games on this one. I still have to stand pat. I probably would go back to that I would go 07 backyard brawl game just to be there for that atmosphere. The beginning of that night, you start out thinking you can go to the national championship game. Still would love to have seen that. So these aren't just hats. These are the same vintage styles, the one back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what, man? They still go for the same price as they did back then when you use code Locked On. So you're going to get your own vintage hat for $16.99, which is a great deal. All you have to do is head over to thegamecaps.com. That's thegamecaps.com, where you can grab your team's classic retro bar or circle design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends, they wear the game. All right, back here with JT Wistersill, Locked On Utes, one of the most talented guys at our company.
That means a lot coming from you, so thank you, sir.
Yeah. Did you see my mascot jump up here while we were talking?
I know, he's awesome. What's his name?
It's a her. Her name is,
excuse me.
It's whatever I call her. I'm one of those weirdos. I've never named my cats.
Oh, she's standing.
I just call her, hey baby, hey honey. And I just
I like it.
And
I need a mascot. I need to get a mascot.
You need to get a mascot. What would your mascot be?
I don't know.
A Wistersill?
I can get I wish I had a dog. That'd be a good mascot. Because you have that dog mentality.
You ever played Magic the Gathering?
I have not. What's that?
It's a card game. I've only played it a couple times, but I remember there was a card in it called Wistersill Cloak.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Just random knowledge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send it to you someday online and let you look at it. I can't remember what it did, but I just remember that name, Wistersill Cloak. What is Wistersill? Is it an Indian background?
No, it's like I think it's Albanian. I want to say
Albanian. Okay, that makes some sense.
My family be kicking me right now for remembering me. I think Albanian. I could be wrong on that. So yeah, I know ball, not my family lineage.
Oh gosh, man. Let's kick it around the Big 12 a little bit here. And really quick,
Big 12 got kicked around this weekend, Paul. They got kicked around.
Definitely got kicked around this weekend. Man, obviously we went over your game. You guys absolutely destroyed Cal Poly, which was great. I mean, I'm glad that happened. We needed that to happen. Baylor with a big win over SMU.
Massive.
So
they were the disappointment of week 1, too.
Yeah, they were. And then Iowa State beats Iowa. What were your thoughts on those two games?
I know those were massive wins for the Big 12. I think Baylor, to me, if Baylor lost again, it's like, okay, you're going to be like last year's Kansas. You're going to be a thorn in everyone's side, but you're not going to be able to be a contender in this conference. And now you sit there at 1-1. They already had a brutal non-conference schedule. And I think yesterday was a massive win for them. Because also if you go to 0-2 in the Big 12, you're more than likely not making the college football playoff unless you win the whole conference. And I saw some real warts and concerns week 1, the special teams, the defense still being a problem. I love Sawyer. I think there's some good things on that offense, even if the offensive line still needs to get better to me. But that was a gutsy win yesterday against a good SMU team. So that was massive. Iowa State, that's the type of game, rivalry. We mentioned it, throw it out the window, find a way to win. And sure enough, they kicked a field goal when they didn't have to punt it like I was known for, but you kick the field goal late and get the win. I love Rocco Beck, the way he's looking and playing right now. And I thought it was big that right now you still have one. Utah's a rising contender. Tech is a rising contender. Iowa State, for what they did last year, to be looking really good once again is very encouraging, because as we know, Paul, the team they played in the championship game was one of the biggest letdowns of this weekend.
No doubt about it. I don't know if our own Cam Stewart from Locked On Baylor or Drake Toll could have taken that loss yesterday with SMU. So I'm glad that I'm glad they got the win, man. They needed that for sure with the Bears. And obviously Iowa State, they've proven they can win a couple different ways now. They can grind it out. They can outscore you a little bit. But so far, I think you can make the argument that Texas Tech has been the most impressive.
I mean, they haven't played anyone though.
Well,
I'm more impressed by Iowa State.
Let me put it like this. Whenever this is the first time I've ever watched Texas Tech where they look like they have Alabama athletes on the field, like everywhere. They really do. That's what I mean.
Bad.
I will just say they just look different than they've ever looked.
I think that's fair. I think, for me, I'm someone where I do have, I feel good about having.
You're skeptic until proven otherwise.
Yeah. I'm still waiting. I was just going to say, like, Utah just vaulted ahead of Texas Tech. Like, I still put more into Utah being able on the road and beat UCLA is why I'm more impressed than Utah right now than I am Texas Tech. Texas Tech is really good. That's actually my preseason championship prediction is Texas Tech versus Utah. I have Utah beating Tech in a few weeks and then Tech just going on a tear as they figure things out. So I think the Red Raiders are fantastic, but I just want to see more from them. But no doubt they've looked the part of the money that was invested into building that team, Paul.
Which was a lot of money. I
A
mean,
lot of
good
money.
Lord
A lot of
almighty,
money.
was it a lot of money? 60 million is the word. Who knows if that's actually what it was?
Yeah.
They're not going to get tested anytime soon. You know, they've got Oregon State. So I don't think like that doesn't feel like a game they can
I
lose
hope it
based on
goes
what
better
Oregon
than the
State
last
looks
time.
like.
I hope it goes better than the last time a Big 12 team played a school from up in Oregon this past weekend, Paul.
That's true as well. You know, hanging under the radar a little bit is Cincinnati. You know, they pulled away in that game in the second half. It was close in the first half. Cincinnati, a team that I don't have a great read on yet for sure, but I think at the end of the day, what I do know is Brendan Sorsby is an incredible quarterback.
I like him. I like some of the pieces
Corey
they have on
Kiner.
defense. Yeah, I like some of the pieces they have, but still only beat up. And I like Bowling Green. I think what Eddie George, the coach there now, the former Ohio State running back, he's building some good things there, but still only beating a MAC team by 14. I have questions. They are like capable of knocking someone off, sure, because of a few of those pieces they have. But to me, you know, that Nebraska loss, and even it wasn't really a neutral site, right, in Kansas City and everything. So that wasn't really fair for Cincinnati. I still need to see more from them as well, because I'm not that high on Nebraska this year. It feels like a lot of people just like Matt Rule, so that's why they're into them. And Dylan Ryle is Patrick Mahomes impressions constantly. But I need to see a lot more from Cincinnati before I'm ready to say, okay, they're in the up. And I'm not, you weren't saying that either. They have some positive things going for them. I just need to see more. A loss and then a 14-point win over a MAC team isn't enough for me to even right now include them in the top half of this conference personally.
Can you explain to me how Stacey Sneed and Donovan Smith are still playing for Houston?
I know.
Daniel Holgerson was coaching them 2 years ago. They look good, nevertheless, in the win over Rice.
Some of the eligibility things are crazy, but shout out Houston. I think Parker mentions like the first time they've been 2-0 in a long time. Granted, they have not beat anyone worth anything. Like, I'm sorry, Rice is just not impressive. So I'm still very much waiting to see how that whole thing is going to work until they actually play some P4 competition. But credit Houston for taking care of business so far.
Now to the bad. Obviously, UCF looked really good, by the way. We'll go I'll just name these really quick because they were nobodies. UCF dominates North Carolina A&T 68-7. Arizona dominates Weber State 48-3. BYU with a good win over Stanford, another P4 team out. You have to at least say that. Bear Bachmeier was protected throughout the game. He only completed 12 passes on 20 attempts. That's not going to be good enough. But he managed the game, no turnovers, while LJ Martin really took over the game and looked good. Chase Roberts, also one of the most underrated players in the league. But, they looked good. I could see how they can have issues on offense later down the line. Houston looking really good, 35-9 over Rice. That is a little bit closer to at least they're a group of 5 team. You know, they dominated them. Now to the really bad, though, Arizona State goes to Starkville, and Mississippi State pulls the double fast move of all double fast moves, and they literally pulled a Bruce Dickinson. Literally, I need more cowbell. Oh, Arizona State, you want to practice with 2 cowbells?
I know.
We're going to use 4 cowbells.
That was a brutal look, the 2 cowbell thing. And it was a brutal loss. I mean, any way you want to slice it. Like, we are in a new year of college football, but the Big 12's winner, the team that last year pushed Texas, that returned a lot as well, like lost Scadaboo, but returned a lot, to go on the road and lose to, albeit an improved Mississippi State team. But the team that finished at the bottom of the SEC last year does not help us Big 12 fans who are trying to give this conference more credit, especially the way when you blow the game like that with the bust in coverage, that drastic. So really disappointed. There's just been some things like with them too, where I'm waiting for them to, it's time to just kind of all start to click. I mean, even Sam Levitt, only 10 of 22 with only 82 passing yards. I thought he was going to make a leap, and he does not look anywhere near one of the 3 best quarterbacks in this conference so far. So that's been a disappointment. And that's an ASU team that did win some close games last year. It's very hard to repeat, even get back to the conference title game. I've said the stat before on our shows, like no one since Colorado outside of Texas and Oklahoma has done it since 04-05. And ASU right now, they got a lot to improve on because they didn't even look that impressive against NAU last week. So very disappointing loss for them.
And to sprinkle salt on the wound, Blake Shapen says, "Oh, okay, Big 12, you don't want me. I'll go to Mississippi State and have myself a day."
Yes.
You know what I mean? So he looked really good in that game, going to 18 to 28, 268, 2 tutties, no picks. And he had some rushing, things I saw him do as well.
Yeah.
Brennan Thompson, Mississippi State, really good player, 92 receiving yards on 4 catches. Stone Blanton was really good in that game too. If you didn't pay attention, if you didn't watch it, he had 12 tackles solo. So really good game from him. 2 other really quick, JT, we're running a little bit over. Obviously, what's going on with Oklahoma State? I mean, 69-3 is an incredible lopsided score. It's everything. Do you think did they self-actualize the things that Gundy was talking about during the week?
I mean, are you? Yeah, I think so. I mean, Paul, I'm going to put it simple about this game. This is way more disappointing than your game. There is no to get that level of embarrassed. It's the score is what's bad. It's not you went up to Autzen and lost. It's 69-3. You were down 41-3 at halftime. You were embarrassed, outclassed, outmanned, out-toughed after your coach was talking about some stuff this week too. It was embarrassing. It is way more embarrassing to me than losing to a MAC team 17-10. You were not even close. The spread was 28.5 and it should have been worse. Or this is one of the worst losses that I think that program has ever had. And they feel so far removed from where they made the title game 2 years ago. I mean,
a lot of people calling for Gundy.
And if it doesn't improve this year, I think they will be justified in making a move there because this has gotten out of hand quickly.
It's one of those things where I think, and this is what worries me about Rich Rod, if you want me my honest opinion.
Yeah.
You've got these guys that are elite and have built careers at stacking 2 or 3 years together with the recruiting class and building these guys into something. Sign me up for Mike Gundy if that's what you want. Sign me up for Rich Rod if that's what you want.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about evaluating talent in the portal, it's tricky within the Big 12 because you're typically going down to G5 in a lot of cases and having to project guys that's never – it's like, okay, for instance, on our offensive line this year, we've got a guy by the name of Walter Youngbear that played at Tulsa last year. I go look at his tape. He manhandled guys. Now in the first 2 games, he's getting manhandled. Kimo Makaniole, LSU, right? They moved him to defensive tackle. Well, we brought him back to play O-line. Maybe he's at D tackle for a reason. These evaluations, these judgments you're making matter. And if you miss, it's sets you back like crazy, right? So I think the skill of evaluation is way different in projecting a high school body into a 3 or 4 year college body and then a already college body that's playing at a whatever, G5, P5, FCS or HBCU level, which are the same thing, but it's just a different projection.
It is. Well, real quick, Paul, Cody told us before about they'd gotten some transfers from LSU and UCLA. And, if I'm wrong here, I'll own it. But I don't know how much those guys played there. So there's a reason they didn't play there. And now they're playing for you and you're getting absolutely embarrassed up in Autzen. And that's the fear now is that at the end of the year, those committee members, they're going to sit there and be like, well, the second Big 12, maybe they deserve to be there, but do we want to send them up to Autzen and have that happen again? That's what we were trying to avoid. And now you have that type of conversation too. Were we going to wind down or can we throw out one other game real quick, sir?
Yeah. Kansas State obviously loses to Army and they're this year's Utah. I said it for you.
They are. It's without a doubt. As soon as Chris Kleiman, the first time I got concerned about Kansas this season was Chris Kleiman at halftime of Iowa State and Kansas State in Dublin was asked, what's wrong with your offense? And he was like, well, let's give credit to the defense first. Wait, what are you doing? Take the accountability. Your team's not playing well. Why are you making excuses right now? And he was even in Big 12 Media Day. He kind of had some things about
imagine having Avery Johnson,
Yeah, we've won
that.
Yeah, we've won 9 games all these years. I don't care about that. Your goals are higher than that. Don't make excuses. And right now, there's not really no excuse to be made because you just lost to Army. They are a massive disappointment. Everyone was calling for them to be a Big 12 bounce back contender to rise up the ranks. And you said too, a lot of people were thinking Utah was fool's gold, at least so far into the season. Kansas is that. The fact that you barely beat an FCS team and then lose to Army, and now you have this gauntlet of Big 12 play. It's another team that could be like a Kansas a year ago, where they're going to be out of the race pretty quick, and they're just going to be able to knock some other contenders off their pedestal because they look nowhere near ready to contend for the crown in this conference.
And then Kansas losing on the road to Missouri is just a tough game, right?
Tough
I don't
game.
think it's anything too bad for Kansas. I think they'll be
Mhm.
okay. They're going to be a tough out.
Hard to
Their
win on the
defense
road.
looks shaky, but Missouri's a good football team. They got Bro Pribula from Penn State, super mobile guy. I think they're going to be okay.
Very hard to win on the road in college football. I still like Kansas a lot. I think they will be fine. They showed a lot. They fought hard in that game. If that game was in Kansas, that 10-point swing, I think it probably goes in Kansas' direction even. So that's just a tough one. But I feel a lot better about Kansas than Kansas State right now.
Last question for you, and then we'll get out of here. What's your sense on the backyard brawl? Do you think West Virginia's got a chance to bounce back this week, or is your confidence pretty shaken after that? Obviously, our defense played well, got us 3 turnovers in the game, only allowed 17 points. I mean, and think about it. We went 3 and out. What was it, 13 times in the game, 12 or 13 times in the game. So our defense really held up against what's been a championship caliber team in the MAC.
Yeah, I think so. Here's the deal. I would love for West Virginia to pull this out. Right now, I will side with Pitt, but I tell you what, I wouldn't touch that game. I'd be very careful about that game from a FanDuel perspective because of the rivalry. Because even if the Pitt players are trying to block it out of their minds, there's going to be guys thinking they just lost to Ohio. They're not going to, we're going to go in there and beat them. You guys are going to be angry. You're going to be at home. Your fans are going to be fired up. This is a rivalry game. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be crazy. But based on how you looked, especially against Ohio, I can't in confidence pick you to win, although I very much hope you do, sir.
Thanks, man. Hey, listen, JT Wisterstill's at Locked On Utes. Do me a favor and check him out over there. He's a good dude. Love his stuff over there. Very talented guy, credentialed media member. So, he does it all over there. Make sure you check him out. And also, before you get out of here, we got to tell you about another big moment for Locked On. As college football fans right now, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff. Mm-hmm. It is your ultimate college football weekly preview where Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12, he leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, and also former college star Jesse Holley. Also, we got Locked On's local experts. That's me and JT, which is a college football preview only Locked On can do. Look, college, it's great, and you can catch it every single Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Thank you guys so much for being here. For JT, for myself, we are out of here.